Hi there, YouTubers. I decided I'm going to do a review for Wicked. And this movie was directed by, was it John M. Chu, starring Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Um, this movie is a fickle one. This is basically, obviously, the prequel to The Wizard of Oz, where they're playing their respective core characters. Cynthia Erivo is playing Ifalba, who is supposed to represent the Wicked Witch, or the soon-to-be Wicked Witch of the West, and Ariana Grande is supposed to be playing Glinda. And this is a funky movie. I considered this movie a little bit too long. This comes in at 2 hours and 40 minutes. They could have cut like a half an hour at least and lost absolutely nothing. Um, I mean, The Wizard of Oz was an hour, less than an hour and 30, and accomplished the same story goals with the sing-alongs going all through it. This movie's biggest problem to me was just the sing-alongs were just brutal because um, they're good sing-alongs, but they interrupt the movie. They literally launch into them every once in a while, and they basically tell you this indeed is a musical. This is a musical movie. This is a movie with lots of musical numbers in it. The problem with this movie is that every time they do the music, they interrupt the movie to do the music. In The Wizard of Oz, they didn't do that. The music was part of the rhythm of the movie. In this movie, it's the opposite. The music literally starts up and everybody starts dancing. The one good thing about it is that Ariana Grande is singing quite a bit in this movie. Ariana Grande was a great decision on the singing part. She can indeed sing. This is no doubt not an issue for her. But this movie has all the usual problems of a movie like this. It's a prequel. Basically, Ifalba is, I don't know, a green skinned character person in this world, and that's about it. And so she gets picked on, and she's an outcast and ostracized, stuff like that. And Ariana Grande's character, Glinda, is friends her. Uh, and what really actually is the big moment in this movie is that they find out that the animals that were kind of performing normal functions in their world are now being demoted. There's a decision been made by the top end of the society, most notably, what is the Wizard of Oz, played by Jeff Goldblum. Um, Interesting concept. They take a train all the way there. They have to deal with him. Of course, he's already there. I don't know. This is all based on play. I don't think this is very much established. This is based on the books. This is based on a play that's been going on for a good 20 years now. I don't know. I've never seen the play, but this movie here was kind of funny because for every for there was some good stuff in this movie, but this movie just went on too long. I just found it way too long. I was like thinking they could have cut this down to an hour 45 and missed nothing. It goes on and on and on. It's obvious that some stuff has to be rewritten to fit the story narrative that Ifalba is going to have a huge impact on this world. So she does. But ultimately, I don't know. This situation has become a problem because they are trying to establish the idea that this is what caused her to go evil. I don't think it's ever explicitly talked about in the old books that what she was in her childhood, but it's just the fact that now they have to explicitly decide that she's going to become evil, even if the reasons are fairly mild. There isn't actually a lot of reasons for her to be evil because there's not a lot of not a lot of stuff that happens. It's mostly just the fact that she finds out what's happening to the animals. She also finds out that Jeff Goldblum's Wizard of Oz is actually a con artist, which is used against her and made into turns her basically into the Wicked Witch of the West. Although that's not, I mean, as far as I know, in the original Wizard of Oz books, uh, they don't really establish why. I mean, those books were a fable. Those books were a fantasy. The Wicked Witches of the world of Oz are all actually just wicked witches. They didn't really have births per se. They kind of popped into being. And the difference between that and this movie is this movie is trying to humanize Ifalba. And I guess that's the problem nowadays. We're all trying to humanize these characters. I don't remember there being something particularly human about the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is pretty plain Jane about that. She is a witch. She does bad things. She's got the wicked. She's all together what she is. Not much explanation is needed. But yeah, this movie has to interpret that as being she was a abused child, basically. I guess. I guess that was the whole point of this story. However, there's a whole bunch of cameos in here. Peter Dinklage makes an appearance in this movie for some reason. It's kind of a weird thing, but whatever. The voice, I think, ironically enough, this is just what I disliked about this movie. Is ironically the musical numbers, because they intrude on the movie's pacing. If you watch The Wizard of Oz, the musical numbers are right in key with the movie. They go on the Yellow Brick Road. That's turned into a musical number. They're doing musical numbers all the way through the movie, but it's included in the movie's structure. Whereas in this movie, I really don't know what their point was, because all the musical numbers are just set pieces. They're set pieces for the movie. They don't really have any purpose or point to these set pieces. So it just ends up being that they're in their world. They're going to school. They're going to post-secondary school. And of course, the animals are being turned into second-rate citizens and turned into, well, they're being reduced back to Animal Kingdom type characters. And eventually, Ifalba is very upset about this and wants to go visit the Wizard of Oz. Actually, I think they get chosen or whatever. It doesn't really matter. They end up on a train. They go to the Land of Oz. They go through all the different areas, find out a bunch of stuff. In the end, they find out that the wizard is a con artist who actually isn't a Wizard of Oz. I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. I didn't mind it too much, but it's just not my kind of movie. I much prefer The Wizard of Oz over this movie. The themes in here are a little too complex. They're trying to make too much out of something that really doesn't need a backstory. We don't need a backstory for the Wicked Witch of the West. In fact, I don't even think Ifalba is the name of the Wicked Witch of the West in the books. I think she's actually called something else. I really don't remember. I think I read The Wizard of Oz once when I was a kid. I don't remember much of it other than the fact that they did change the slippers are different between the book and the movie, because in the movie they were trying to take advantage of the old Technicolor cameras in the 30s. Whereas in this movie here, they don't really get into that one. So instead, this is, I don't know. It's not too bad, I guess. It's just a little bit too long to me. It was just too much story points, too much backstory, too much trying to make humanizing the Wicked Witch of the West. It could have been. I think the problem is too is that they're trying to cater to the modern audiences of kids who probably want some semblance of anti-hero philosophies in their stories now. I don't know. I didn't really see the point in that, but nonetheless, it's all right. It made its millions. It made its hundreds of millions of dollars in the theaters because lots of people associate this with The Wizard of Oz. But nonetheless, and probably a lot of these people have also seen the play. So, yeah, all too well. It's not too bad. It was all right. That's really, I can't say much more than that. I wasn't huge on it, but yeah, there it is.